Hello, hello, hello. How's it going? I hope you guys are having an awesome day out there. My name is Wes. This is Interactive English, and we are always coming out with new and different lessons to help you guys practice and improve your English skills. And today I have a very, very cool lesson for you. We're going to talk about something that is commonly used all the time, every day. So it's a really important lesson, and that is time. We're going to talk about time and telling time, some of the useful words and expressions that we use when we want to say what time it is. And again, this is very important because, as I said, we use this every day. We're constantly thinking about, well, what time it is. Everybody has a busy life, so this is very important stuff that we want to know. And again, if you're joining us, please say what's up in the chat. Rogerio, Luan, Vivian, hey, how's it going? Patricia, glad that you guys can join us. And even if you're watching this later, just say, let me know your name. Where are you from? Write it in the comments. Love hearing from you guys and glad to have you with us. So today we're going to talk about telling time and some of the useful words and expressions that we can use when we want to say what time it is. It'll start out a little easier, and this may be stuff you already know, you're familiar with, but then it's going to get a little more difficult, and especially once we get into some of the expressions that we use when telling time, because you don't want to just say the same thing. You don't want to say the same thing. Anybody asks you, hey, what time is it? You want to be able to give different responses because it just helps out with your overall fluency. So the first thing that I wanted to show you guys and talk about today is the 12-hour clock. And the reason I want to talk to you about this is because that's what we're going to use when I'm talking about saying time. We're going to use a 12-hour clock. And the reason that we're going to use a 12-hour clock is because, well, that's what most English-speaking countries use. And if you are listening to music or watching TV or movies and listening to English, more than likely you're going to hear people talking using a 12-hour clock. And so let's go back a little. Let's back it up, give you a quick little history lesson. So the 12-hour clock, how did it come about? And I'd be curious to know in the chat or in the comments, what do you guys use? Do you use a 12-hour clock or do you use a 24-hour clock? Which one do you use? What do people in your country use? Let me know in the chat. I'd be interested to hear from all of you. So the days originally, long time ago, the days were divided into two different cycles, and that makes sense. You had the daytime and then you had nighttime. And the time was tracked depending on the position of the sun and the moon. Historically, you had ancient Egypt, you had the Romans, you had the British Empire, all use the 12-hour clock, the 12-hour cycle. And then when clocks came about, many clocks, as you can see my clock down there in the corner, began using a 12-hour analog dial. And when I say the dial, it's just that picture down there, and they would use Roman numerals, the 12 Roman numerals, to represent the time for the 12-hour clock. So all of the words and expressions that we use today that I'm going to teach you about, it refers to this 12-hour clock, okay? So, very interesting. All right, Braulio, I use 12-hour clock in my country. Brazil, they use the 24-hour clock, okay? Marco says 24 hours more comfortable. Yeah, that's true. It's very interesting. Egypt's the 12-hour clock. It's very interesting to see what everybody's doing. As I've lived in different countries, I've become a little more used to a 24-hour clock, so both of them are very familiar. But again, with English-speaking countries, I don't know why, everybody just uses the 12-hour clock. Britain, the United States, Canada, Australia. So again, for this lesson, we're going to talk about and discuss things based on that 12-hour clock. So let's start out with something simple and easy, because we love simple and easy, don't we? And that is just saying, the basic time. How do you say the time? So when you have your time, kind of like we have this clock right there, you're going to say the hours first. You'll always say the hours, and then the hours, followed by the minutes. Okay, you say the hours and then the minutes. So in the chat, in the comments, I want you to write down and write out your answer. What time is it right now? Using this method, just the hours and the minutes. All right, what time is it right now? And see if you can spell. The numbers instead of just writing the numbers, because that's pretty easy. Okay, what time is it right now? Let me know in the chat. So let's look at this, my nice, beautiful digital clock right here, and use that as an example. So the hours, that's on the 10. So it's 10, and then you say the minutes. It's 10:29. Okay, it's 10:29. This is a very precise way of saying the time. If you're telling somebody this, if they ask what time it is, if you use this way, you're being very specific, very precise. You say, oh, it's 10:29. Now, let's look at these other examples below and how we would say that. So look at the first one, 4. All right, you see this one right here, okay? If I say what time it is, if it's the top of the hour, you would say the number, the hour, and then o'clock, followed by o'clock. What time is it? It's 4 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock. So if it's the top of the hour, remember you're going to use that o'clock. All right, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. If the minutes are from 1 to 9, okay, you're going to say the hour. All right, look at that one that I have down there for you. You're going to say the hour, 7. And then the 0, you're going to say O again, 7:08. What time is it? It's 7:08. So if the numbers are 1 to 9, the minutes, you're going to say O, 7:01, 7:02, 7:03. I was recently teaching a student and just asking them what time it is. I was more curious about the time difference because we were in 2 different locations. And the student told me, they said, it's 5:05. And I was thinking for a second, wait a second. I knew what he meant because I knew what time it was here, and I knew he meant 5:05. And then we had a nice little discussion about saying the time. So again, if that 0, if the number's 1 to 9, the minutes, you're going to say 7:08. And I wrote that as an example, I'm putting it in quotes because it's like you're saying the time, speaking. And I do want us to speak today, okay? I want you to speak. We're going to make this a little bit of a speaking lesson later on once we do the practice. And then the last example down there, what time is it? The hours and then the minutes. It's 11:12, right? What time is it? It's 11:12. The one thing I want you to know with if you're saying time like this, okay? We say this with in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. So when we use those time expressions, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, oftentimes we're saying time like this. We're saying the hours and then the minutes, okay? It's 10:29 in the morning. It's 10:29 in the evening, okay? So if you want to add that other time expression, it makes it more specific, so you know whether it's the morning, the afternoon, or the evening. Often you can just use this based on context, because if people are outside, then you most likely know if it's daytime or nighttime. But sometimes we're inside and we lose track of time, and somebody might say, yeah, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, especially if they want to emphasize this like it's really late in the morning and you've been sleeping in late. So this is a very simple, easy way of doing stuff. You say the hours and then you say the minutes. Now, let's look at some time words, okay? And this is talking about the various parts of the day. And these are some good words that indicate a period of the day that you should be able to conceptualize and know, okay, what time are people talking about? So in the chat or in the comments, let me know. I want you to write, tell me, what is your favorite part of the day and why? What's your favorite part of the day and why? That is my question to all of you right now. Let me know, what is your favorite part of the day? So let's go around. Let's go around the whole circle. So this day that I have right here would be based on a 24-hour cycle, okay? So it's a full day. And let's start at the top, right there at noon or midday, which would be 12 p.m. Sorry for the graphics. I tried to make it look like the yellow for the sun during the day, and then down, make it a little darker at night. It didn't turn out as well as I'd like, but you get the idea. So 12 p.m. right there up at the top would be noon. We would just say it's noon or midday. More commonly, I think people would say noon. I don't hear midday as much, so people often say noon instead of saying 12 p.m. So once the time moves after that, then we are into the afternoon, all right? And that's a very general time period that there is no specific time like, oh, it's from here to here. It's just afternoon. That's what it's based on. And that is the daytime period until the sun is going down. And when the sun goes down, you have the sunset, which I think most of us are probably familiar with that word sunset. When the sun goes down, you have the sunset. And after the sunset, there is this short period where it's still light out. We can see, and it's not dark just yet, but the night is coming quickly. So it's that period from when the sun goes down, you have the sunset, and then there's still light before it gets dark, and that is dusk. That is what we refer to as dusk. And it can also be called twilight, that time period where there's still light, but the sun has gone down. It's twilight, it's dusk. Once the sun goes down, then we're into the evening, which is my favorite part of the day because you can kind of kick back, relax, and enjoy. Other people are saying the evening as well. Excellent, Maria. Some people in the mornings. Okay, very cool, very cool. Again, let me know what's your favorite part of the day. So once you get into the evening, that is when people have dinner, they relax, maybe they watch some TV, and then they go to bed. And at 12 a.m., that is midnight. Okay, so we have 12 p.m. would be noon, all right, around lunchtime, and then the opposite would be 12 a.m., that is midnight. And then after midnight, you're moving back into what people consider morning. That it's the early morning. And then we go back around, and before the sun comes up, this is also important, before the sun comes up, it starts to get light. You don't see the sun, but there's light, and that is what is dawn. People can also refer to this as twilight as well, because twilight is basically any period where there's light, but the sun is either up but the sun is still down. So at both dusk and dawn, you could refer to as twilight, even though I think most people think of twilight around dusk, once the sun goes down. So you have dusk and dawn. Dawn is the time right before the sunrise. And then once you have the sunrise, then people, most of us commonly just refer to that as morning. and then you're back at noon, and it just goes round and round and round, and the time never stops, even though I think many of us would like it to stop sometimes. So again, if you're just joining us, welcome. We are talking about telling time and the different expressions and words that we can use to tell the time. And afterwards, I have a little practice for you. Some of you, my favorite part of the day is sunrise. Ooh, very cool. I am not much of a morning person, so I'm not a huge fan of the sunrise. I like to sleep in. So let's get back to telling time. And I want to look at this and talk about half hours. So when we're talking about our 12-hour clock, all right, a lot of times things are broken into different intervals, different minutes. And a common one is a half hour, which is 30 minutes. And if we're talking about a time that is right here, 30 minutes past the hour, then you would just say half past. Half past and then the hour. It's 30 minutes past the hour, it's half past, and then you'd say the hour. So for this, okay, that 3:30. Now this is where let's practice some speaking right now. I'm gonna say, geez, what time is it? I want you to say the answer. I want you to tell me the time, all right? This is it. It's 3:30. We're gonna use 3:30. And I just want you to speak the answer and say it out loud. If you're with us right now, or even if you're watching this later, everybody wants to practice a little more speaking. So now's your chance to do a little speaking and just practice it, okay? So I'll ask you again, well, what time is it? You should say, it's 3:30. All right, what time is it? 3:30? It's 3:30. All right, let's look at the next one. 8:30. I'll ask you, you can tell me, hey, what time is it? Did you tell me? Did you tell me the time? I hope you did, because you should say it's 8:30. So if it's 30 minutes past the hour, most of the time we're just going to say half past. It's 1:30, it's 2:30, it's 3:30, it's 4:30. So 30 minutes, we would use half past. In the comments right now, or in the chat, if you were speaking out loud, I want you to write the words speaking. I want to know if you are actually talking to me and having a little bit of a conversation, okay? If another thing to point out, just so you know, a little difference between some of the British English, American English, we'll talk about this throughout the lesson, but in British English, some people may just say 8:30. So if somebody says half and then the hour, that's what they mean. They mean 30 minutes past the hour. So 8:30, it's 8:30. Some people in Britain might say it's 8:30. I remember traveling a long time ago, and the first time I heard this, I asked somebody from Britain what time it was, and they said, I think it's 5:30. And for a second, I was trying to think. I was like, do they mean 4:30 or do they mean 5:30? I wasn't quite sure. But if somebody says half and then the hour, they mean it's half past that time. So 8:30 would be 8:30. 9:30 would be 9:30. And of course, a very common way that we talk about the time is to give estimates, to give approximations. So again, there's my digital clock right there. We can estimate things with about. You can always do it. If it's 10:29, you don't have to say, again, the hours and the minutes, it's 10:29. You can use about and just estimate. It's about 10:30. And then you know that, okay, it's about 30 minutes past 10 o'clock. It's about 10:30. So that is how we can use the half, all right? So if it's 30 minutes, we're going to use half past. Let's look at the next one. Another increment, very commonly used, would be 15 minutes. So if we're talking about 15 minutes past the hour, it's 15 minutes past the hour, we would say it's 15:15. and then whatever the hour is, okay? It's quarter past the hour. So again, I want to do this a little speaking right now. I'll give you the time. I'll ask you what time it is and just say it out loud. Practice using these because these are great expressions that people use all the time instead of saying 2:15. Okay, so let's look at that one first. 2:15. What time is it? You should say it's 2:15. It's 15 minutes past 2. It's 2:15. Let's look at the next one. Okay, are you ready? 5:15. What time is it? It's 5:15. 10:15. What time is it? It's 10:15. Again, I want you to practice saying these out loud. I don't, it doesn't matter where you are, if you're at home, if you're on a bus, if you're at school, if you're at work. Practice saying these out loud, even if you're watching this later on. It's always good to get a little bit of speaking practice and actually pronouncing these words and saying it out loud, because that's another great way to help you remember the information. So 15, quarter past would be 15 minutes past the hour. Americans down here, a side note for this one, Americans also use after. I think I probably, since I am from the United States, I probably use after more than I use past. I would say in this example, my clock over there, you can see, I'd say, yeah, it's 1:15. It's 15 minutes after 1 o'clock. So you could use either past or after if you want to say it's 15 minutes past the hour. But after, it's more so, I think, an American thing than it is a British thing. But just so you know, food for thought, it's 1:15. It's 15 minutes past 1. It's the same, okay? So again, if you guys are doing this practice, if you're saying this out loud, I want you to just write speaking in the comments so I know that you guys are actually participating and saying this stuff and repeating afterwards. Also, I have another question for you. When you're talking about time in English, do you use these already? Do you use half past? Are you using quarter hours to say the time? Because again, this is something that we do every day, that it's so common all the time to use half and quarter. So this is talking about quarter past, 15 minutes past the hour. Now let's look at if it's 15 minutes until the hour. 15 minutes until the hour, you are going to use to or till, which would just kind of be shortened for until, till. It's 1:15 the hour. It's 1:15 the hour. So again, let's just practice. Let's practice speaking a little more. Let's look at that first one. I will ask you what time it is and just give me this response. 4:45. That's the one we're starting with. 4:45. What time is it? You should say it's 4:45. You could also say it's 4:45. Let's do 9:45. What time is it? It's 9:45. It's 9:45. Both mean the same thing. And 11:45, what time is it? It's 11:45. Or you could say, depending on the time, you could say it's 12:45, it's 12:45 midnight. Depending on the time of day, 12, it's either going to be noon or midnight. Those are other ways to express 12 p.m. and 12 a.m. So we can use to or till when we want to talk about that it's almost at the hour, almost at that point. Another thing, probably more common, I use to. I don't know why. I don't really use till that much. I would always just say it's 1:45, 1:45, 2:45, 3:45, 4:45, 4:45. I personally just use to. I don't know which one you are more common, you are more comfortable with. You can let us know. Let me know in the comments. I'd be curious. Okay, some people, Erwin, I'm doing it out loud. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you for participating. Excellent. Let's look at, that other note, my side note down there for you, that Americans may also use of. And this one I think can be pretty confusing. It depends where you are from in the country. I don't really use of. I've heard it before, but people might say it's 1:45. That means that it's 15 minutes until 2 o'clock. It's 1:45. So if you ever hear that when you're watching a movie or watching TV, then you'll know it's 15 minutes until that hour, 1:45, 1:45, 1:45. It's more of an American thing. I don't think it's as common. So let's continue. Hello again. If you guys are just joining us, great to have you with us. Let me know your name and where you're from. We are talking about time and time expressions and different ways that we can say the time. So let's look at using time. All right, using time wisely. So I kind of wanted to give you a visual of past or after, as well as to or till. So again, that clock, that hour can be divided into two different parts. If you're talking about the first part of the hour, all right, 1 to 30 minutes, you're going to use past or after when you're talking about the time. If you want to say the minutes and after and then the hour. Once it goes over that half hour, then you would use to or till and then whatever the next hour is. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of a reference as to how the clock is divided and how people are going to use past and after and to and till. And again, if you guys use these, let me know. Write it in the chat. Do you guys use past and after, to and till? It's great to learn. It's great to practice because, again, we use this all the time. Excellent. So let's look at, also I wanted to point out just for one thing, if we're talking about, if we're going to say, again, morning, afternoon, evening, remember that we're not really going to use that, you're not going to use it's 1:15 in the morning. You could. I think it sounds a little strange. If you're going to use those time expressions in the morning, in the evening, in the afternoon, remember it's most commonly used with this form right here. When you say the hour and then you say the minutes. It's 10:29 in the morning. It's 10:29 in the evening. So that's something to keep in mind if we're going to use those expressions. Let's look at just some more examples using past, after, to, and till. So I hope that you guys can see these clocks down there. It's a little small, but I think you can kind of get the idea as to where things are at. So let's look at that first one right there. The shorthand is almost to the 7. The longhand is on the 8. So we're going to say it's 20 to 7. It's 20 to 7. It's 20 minutes until 7 o'clock. It's 20 to 7, or you could say it's 20 till 7. The next one right there, with both hands are pointing to the 1, we'd say it's 5 after 1. 5 after 1. Or you could say, that's more of an American way of saying it. You could also say it's 5 past 1. 5 minutes past the hour. 5 minutes past 1 o'clock. It's 5 after 1. It's 5 past 1. Again, if you were going to say in the afternoon, it'd be more, it's 1:05 in the afternoon. That's what I think would be more commonly used with in the afternoon. Let's look down here. These clocks right here. The longhand is on the 5 and the shorthand is in between the 2 or 3. So it'd say it's 25 past 2. It's 25 past 2. The other thing that I wanted to tell you guys when you're using these, you know that the clock is divided into 12 numbers, all right? So it's basically 5 minutes. We use these a lot when we're talking about these 5-minute increments, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 35. We use that a lot. So we'd say it's 25 past 2. It's 25 after 2 to say it's 2:25. And then the final one over there, that clock in the corner, it's pointing to, okay, it is almost 11 o'clock. The longhand is pointing at the 10, so we'd say it's 10 till 11. 10 minutes until 11 o'clock. It's 10 till 11, or you could say it's 10 to 11. All right? So, excellent. Oh, thank you. Jezebel from the Philippines. Love this video. Well, excellent. I'm glad that you guys are finding this useful. Hello, hello, Aline RK. I see some new people in here. Hope you guys are having a great day. Again, thank you for joining us today on this Saturday, or even if you're watching this later, thank you for joining us. So let's do some practice. And again, I want to make this a speaking practice. So I'm going to give you a time and just ask you what time it is. And I want you to think of all the different ways that you can say it and see how many that you can say. If you don't want to say it, if you want to write them down, write them in the chat, write it in the comments. I would recommend try speaking it. It's great to say the language, but if you want to write it, that's fine as well. Just it's good to participate and get involved in this process is the only thing I want. So let's look at the first one. All right, are you ready? And boom. Okay. So I want you to say the times out loud, or if you want to write them, it's fine. So again, I put it in quotes. You just say it's. Okay. What are the different ways that we could say this? This is the time right here. I'll give you a moment, and then we'll go through them, and I'll show you the different answers. I'll show you what I have. So if you look at the clock and you see this time and somebody asks you right now, I say, what time is it? Can you tell me what time it is? What are some of the different answers that you could give? What time is it? What do you think? What time is it? So I hope, again, so you're ready? Perfect. All right. Yes. Vitkan, Mohammed, Aquino, perfect. Murillo, excellent. So some of the things you could say, if somebody says, what time is it? And this is the clock. All right. The first one, you could just say the hour and then the minutes. It's 2:15. Okay. It's 2:15, the PM. So it would be 2:15 in the afternoon. What time is it? It's 2:15 in the afternoon. You could also say, as some of you wrote in the chat, it's 15 past 2. 15 minutes past 2 o'clock. You could also say it's 15. It's quarter after 2 is another one. We talked about those quarter hours. It's quarter after 2. Also, it's quarter past 2. That was another one. So you can use any of these examples. You could say it's 2:15. You could say it's 15. Say the minutes past the hour. It's 15 past 2. Or you could say, again, 15. We just say it's a quarter. It's quarter after 2. It's quarter past 2. Or again, quarter after would be, that's more me. That's the American way of saying it. So the next one, are you ready? Here it is. This is the time. This is a time that I really hate to see because it's too early. So my question for you is, what time is it? What time is it? Tell me what time it is. What are some different things that you could say? What are some different things you could say if you see this time? What time is it? And say the answers out loud. Tell it's. What time is it? All right, let's look at a few of these. So first, I would say, okay, it's 6:40. Again, just saying the hour and the minutes. It's 6:40 in the morning. All right, it's morning time. Usually, I'd say it's 6:40 in the. I'd maybe throw some profanity in there, morning, because I am not a morning person. I would hate to see this time. We could also say it's 20 to 7. All right, it's 20 to 7. Some of you wrote that in there. It is 20 to 7, 20. Perfect. Vivian, Nick, Braulio, perfect. Excellent. Murillo, way to go. So it's 20 to 7, 20 minutes to 7 o'clock, or 20 minutes, or 20 till 7, 20 minutes until 7 o'clock. Excellent. Let's look at another one. What about this time? Right here. What would you guys say? You see this on the clock, and I ask you, what time is it? What would you tell me? Can you tell me the time? All right. For this one, there are different ways that we could go about it. So let's look at a few of them. What we could say is just say the hours and the minutes. It's 11:48. Okay. You could also say it's 12 minutes. All right. That's what's missing. All right. It's 12 to, and again, we're going to go to 12 p.m. So you could, I put a red line through it because, again, not many people would use this because it just sounds a little awkward and redundant. It's 12 to 12 or 12 till 12. Technically, that's correct, but we wouldn't really use it because of the numbers that we're talking about, 12 and 12. More common, this is when somebody would substitute 12 p.m. for noon, and you could say it's 12 to noon or 12 till noon. Or again, if we want to use about and give an estimate, you could just say it's about 10 to noon. Or you could say in that case, it's 10 to 12, 10 till 12. That's perfectly fine. All of these answers are fine. I just kind of marked out 12 to 12 because, again, it sounds a little bit like a redundancy and it becomes a little more confusing. So people put in there, it's 12 to noon, perfect. It's 12 to midday, that is also perfectly fine. Excellent, excellent. You guys are rocking it. Let's do another. This time right here. What would you say for this time? What time is it? What time is it? You can say your answers out loud or write them in the chat, or if you're watching this later, write your answers in the comments. Write them down. Use the comments section like it's a whiteboard, and you can practice and use the language. That's the most important thing. What time is it? So this one, what we are talking about a half hour. So let's look at the different ways we can say this. Again, we can always say the hours and the minutes. It's 5:30. It's 5:30, 5:30 in the evening. This would kind of depend on the time of year. It's winter right now, so it still gets dark early. So I would say it's 5:30 in the evening. In the summer, when it stays light longer, then I might switch and say it's 5:30 in the afternoon. So it really depends on the time of year. Again, 30 minutes, we'd say half past. It's 5:30. It's 5:30. In the US, you could say half after 5. I don't think it's as common. Usually with after, it's mostly those quarter hours. Or as I said, in Britain, they might say it's 5:30, which means it's 5:30. The most common one would just be it's 5:30. What time is it? It's 5:30. That's the one that I really wanted to get. And all of you said it, Braulio, Nix, Danan, it's 5:30. Alaziz, perfect. Eduardo, 5:30, perfect. Welcome, Eduardo. Just arrived. Excellent. So again, these are all great ways to use time expressions in order to quickly review with you guys how we use it. Again, the first way, very common, is just to say the hours and then the minutes. It's 10:29. And we often use this method, especially this way of telling time, if we're going to use in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. We talked about some important time words that you'll find throughout the day. I think most of you are familiar with many of these words. Maybe dusk and dawn might be two different words. So remember, dusk is after once the sun sets, and then dawn is just before the sunrise. And that is that period of time where there is light out and you can kind of see, but the sun is nowhere to be found. And people might often refer to that as twilight. We have half hours. If it's 30 minutes, we're just going to say half past the hour. It's 3:30, 4:30, 5:30. That is a good one to know. And same with quarter. If it's 15 minutes, then we're going to use quarter. It's quarter past whatever the hour is. Quarter past 2, it's quarter past 5, it's quarter past 10. And as I said, Americans, like me, will sometimes use after instead of past. If it is 15 minutes until it reaches a certain hour, we're going to use to or till. My personal preference, I often use to. But as those examples, 4:45, it's quarter till 5. 9:45, it's quarter to 10. 11:45, it's quarter to 12. Or quarter to noon, quarter to midnight, whatever time of the day it might be. So those are some other expressions, and again, just showing you how we use past and after, to, until, and it's most commonly used with those increments of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, 20, 25. That's a common way of expressing the time. So I really am glad that you guys joined me today. Please, if you have questions, write them in the comments once this video gets posted. If you're watching this later, again, say what's up, let us know where you're from, write any comments. Let us know what time it is. What time are you watching this lesson? Please, again, like and share this video. Help us spread the word. And as always, you can join our social media classes. We're active. Well, let's start here. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and of course, right here on YouTube. So we appreciate you guys being here with us today. Braulio, Eduardo, Murillo, Long, Maria. I'm trying to. Sorry if I missed some of your comments as well. Sometimes not all of them pop up. So thank you guys again for participating and being here. And we will see you next time. Have a great weekend.